All right, Frank, number 85 on your list is yet another David Ayer film, Street Kings. Street Kings is a 2005 crime drama directed by David Ayer and starring Keanu Reeves, Chris Evans, Forrest Whitaker, Hugh Laurie, Jay Mohr, Terry Crews, Naomie Harris, Common, Cedric the Entertainer, John Corbett, Amaury Nolasco, and more. In Street Kings, a corrupt LA cop suspects his ex-partner's murder may not have been random, leading him down a long, difficult road of deception. Your thoughts on Street Kings are? If you liked End of Watch and Training Day, you might like this movie. Don't watch the trailer. It makes it look like Common is a main character, but he only shows up in one scene. Seen this when I was in high school. Well, I gotta say, you ended the Ayer marathon with one that I didn't hate. I wouldn't say that I loved Street Kings by any means, but I didn't dislike it as much as Dark Blue and Harsh Times. Again, it's hard to say that I enjoyed this film, but I was watching it the whole time. I was watching it. And Keanu and Chris Evans make a very interesting pair, to say the least. So it's weird. It's kind of weird seeing Chris Evans like outside of Captain America. Like, I'm so used to that world, him being in that world. But at the same time, you know, I know that he's done a lot of other stuff, and there's even been some things that I've liked him in. Like there's a movie called Push that came out in, I think, the mid 2000s maybe, or late 2000s. I'm not sure. It was definitely before First Avenger. I think that Chris Evans is good. You know, I just need to see him in more movies that are not Marvel movies, I guess. This movie does not escape a lot of some of the ridiculous trappings of some of the previous David Ayer movies. And I knew that it was going to be that way literally the first scene. Keanu wakes up, and the first thing that he does upon waking up is pull his gun out and cock it. Literally nobody does that. Nobody in the world ever does that, ever. It's not a thing that people do. That is a David Ayer movie, you know, to me. And again, I love Fury. I love Training Day, but a lot of his other movies are just like, I've grown to realize that they are not for me. You know, Suicide Squad had potential, and I don't want to get into the whole like director's cut, you know, conversation behind all that. But yeah, outside of Fury and Training Day, it's just not, you know, it just doesn't. I think honestly what made this film enjoyable enough for me was partially the fact that like he didn't write it. James Ellroy wrote it, or it was at least based on a story that James Ellroy wrote. I'd have to clarify that. But he just basically he just directed it mainly. He mainly directed it. So, you know, I think the fact that you have such a strong cast in it, Keanu, Forrest Whitaker, Chris Evans, to some extent Hugh Laurie, I think that's what brings this thing, you know, through. Because the actors in it are fantastic. The reason that I hesitate about Hugh Laurie is because like I just think that he's miscast in this movie. He just doesn't fit in a movie like this. He's really trying hard to play like this hardball IA guy, and it's like it just doesn't work, you know? He's not the frightening, like hard-edged kind of person. But what it comes down to is this film, again, it's just sort of another Training Day type film where it's like you've got corrupt cops, you've got racism, you've got murder, you've got, you know, it's like a checklist almost where it's just going down. It's like, you know, any David Ayer movie. It's like you got these things. It's got to have these things. And you know, I've seen this movie before. and I've seen it done better. I've also seen it done worse. I would say that Street Kings lands square in the middle. You know, if Harsh Times and Dark Blue are kind of like the low end of that, Street Kings is like right in the middle. And like Training Day is like the gold standard. One thing that I did find funny in this movie was there's a scene where Chris Evans is chasing this drug dealer, and Keanu is driving in the car, and Chris Evans is on foot, Keanu's in a car. So Keanu flies around, comes around, gets to where the drug dealer is, and the drug dealer stumbles and ends up falling into this razor wire. And so then he's stuck. So Keanu starts asking him questions. He says, "So what do they know you by?" And the guy says, "Quicks." And Keanu looks at him and laughs, and he goes,
"Not quick enough."
And it just reminded me of that joke in Constantine where he's like, "The one about the skinny fellow and his fat friend." That moment like clicked in for me, and I think it was because we had talked about that particular moment on the Constantine podcast, but it just made me laugh so much where he's like, "Not quick enough," you know, almost as if he's saying the joke to himself, you know, he's like making himself laugh. So it was a very Keanu moment. But yeah, so Street Kings, I didn't hate it, but would I recommend it to people? Not really. You know, I wouldn't say that it's a particularly great film, nor is it a particularly great performance by Keanu or Chris Evans. Like, they all have better performances in other movies. So Street Kings is like, it's one of those movies, like, if it's a Saturday afternoon, you got nothing else to do, and it just happens to be on, maybe you watch it. I don't know. But there are plenty of other better movies than this. All right, Frank, next up on your list is number 86. It's the Kevin Costner film, Mr. Brooks. And until next time, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. Frank, I will see you in the next one.